When James and I got married, life was simple. We didn't have much, but we had dreams. Our first home wasn't really a home. It was a small rented apartment with peeling paint and noisy neighbors. We often talked about how one day we would save enough to buy a house of our own. It wasn't going to be easy, but we were young and determined. 3 years into our marriage, our lives took an exciting turn. I found out I was pregnant. I remember the moment I told James. His face lit up with pure joy, and he hugged me so tightly that I couldn't help but laugh. "We're going to be parents," he said, his voice filled with wonder. As thrilled as we were, we also knew this news came with challenges. We were still saving for a house, and houses in our area weren't cheap. The money we had saved would only get us a small starter home. But then my mom, Linda, came into the picture with an idea that changed everything. We settled for a small house. She asked one evening over dinner, "You should buy something bigger, a place where you can grow your family." Her suggestion surprised me. "Mom, we can't afford a big house," I said. "We've been saving for years just to afford a small one." Mom waved her hand dismissively. "You're thinking too small," she said. "I'll help you. I'll give you some money to get started, and James's parents can chip in too. You can pay the rest off in monthly installments, and don't worry about the baby. I'll take care of her when you go back to work. It'll all work out." Her plan sounded almost too good to be true. James and I spent several sleepless nights discussing it. A big house sounded wonderful, but could we really manage the payments? In the end, her confidence convinced us. We took a leap of faith and bought a beautiful house with 3 bedrooms and a garden. The months that followed were a whirlwind. I was 9 months pregnant when we moved in, and James worked tirelessly to set up the nursery. When our daughter Emily was born, she was the center of our world. I stayed home for 3 months to bond with her, but as the end of my maternity leave approached, I knew it was time to go back to work. True to her word, Mom stepped in. She took care of Emily during the day while James and I worked. It wasn't easy balancing work, parenting, and managing the mortgage, but we made it work. For a while, life felt like it was finally falling into place. Then, everything changed. One morning, Mom sat me down at the kitchen table. She looked tired, but I didn't expect the words that came out of her mouth. "I can't do this anymore," she said. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice trembling. "I'm exhausted," she said. "I've raised my kids. I want to enjoy my life now. I'm sorry, but I can't take care of Emily anymore." I was stunned. "But Mom, you promised. We bought this house because you said you'd help, Mom. We trusted you." "I didn't realize how hard it would be," she said, avoiding my eyes. "You're strong. You'll figure it out." Her words felt like a betrayal. James and I had built our entire plan around her promise. Without her help, how were we supposed to manage? Emily was too young for daycare, and we couldn't afford to quit our jobs. James was just as shocked as I was. "What are we going to do now?" he asked. "We have to pay the mortgage, and we can't both stop working." Desperate, I pleaded with Mom to reconsider, but her decision was final. "I've done enough," she said. I want to live my life. I have a right to be happy." Her words hurt deeply, but there was no time to dwell on them. James and I had to come up with a new plan, and fast. I decided to quit my job to stay home with Emily. Meanwhile, James started working longer hours and even took on side projects to make extra money. It was exhausting for both of us. I missed my job and the sense of purpose it gave me, and James missed spending time with Emily. Feeling overwhelmed, I reached out to James's parents. They were kind and understanding, but they were also elderly and couldn't do much. "We can watch Emily on weekends," they said. It wasn't much, but it was something. At night, after Emily went to bed, I began searching for online jobs. I found small gigs, writing, data entry, anything that paid. The money wasn't great, but every little bit helped. Slowly, we began to adjust to our new reality. One day, Mom came over for a visit. She looked refreshed and happy, as if a weight had been lifted off her shoulders. "How are you doing?" she asked. I wanted to tell her everything: the sleepless nights, the financial stress, the loneliness I felt. But instead, I said, "We're managing." She looked at Emily, who was playing with her toys, and smiled. "She's getting so big," she said. "She is," I replied. After a long pause, Mom said, "I've been thinking, maybe I can help out once or twice a week." Her words brought tears to my eyes. "Thank you, Mom. That would mean so much to us." From then on, Mom started coming over a couple of times a week to watch Emily. It wasn't as much help as before, but it made a big difference. Meanwhile, James found a better paid job, and I began earning more from my online work. Life is still busy and sometimes overwhelming, but we're in a better place now. Emily is growing into a bright, happy little girl, and every time she laughs, it reminds me that all the struggles are worth it. Looking back, I've learned a lot about resilience and the importance of family. Mom and I don't always agree, but I know she loves me in her own way. And while life didn't go as planned, we've found our own way forward. Our story isn't perfect, but it's ours, and for that I'm grateful. If you enjoy the story, please like, subscribe, and share.